Hello and welcome to my Petriculture presentation for the final major project, project PHO705. During this little chat I'm going to be talking about my project, what I hope to do, who inspires me, previous work that I've done that I'd like to carry on, and kind of the research and thought process behind it. So I was very lucky to study at Falmouth University. I did PA photography. I live very rurally in Dorset. I actually live on a farm. So in doing this, I did a project called Country Life. I shot a mini series called Lambda Slaughter, which are these images here. They're black and white. They are of countryside. It's of the sheep being chosen to go out to slaughter. I chose to do it in black and white. I think it kind of shows more history in an image, or focus more on the actual picture itself rather than colour. Kind of want to tell a story with these images. I hadn't really shot people portraits before, so it's all very new to me. I wanted to show kind of the storytelling element, the empathy you'd have for the sheep going off to slaughter, the kind of relationship between the farmers and the animals, while showing the hardship of country life, so with the kind of mud and wetness on the floor, the kind of clothes they wear, the buildings, the elements that these farmers are put in every day. That was my aim for the project. Moving on to year 2, I was still kind of inspired by the Dorset countryside in which I lived, so I did a project called Rural Life. I chose to shoot in colour rather than doing kind of a storytelling kind of thing. I wanted to photograph elements of the countryside rather than the portrait, but sort of the hint of, the glove from the fence post, the working dog, the green barber jacket, the tweed, the pheasant, the beating. I went on several beating shoots. I went right into the countryside. I wanted to kind of capture these portraits and these elements of rural life without kind of photographing the person itself, so to speak. I really enjoy shooting in colour for all of these projects as well. Bit of a jokey kind of image. I chose to shoot sheep portraiture. Steph Cosgrove was my tutor for the project, and she said it'd be quite funny. So I did that, and I really enjoyed kind of photographing the character of the animal as well. It was really cool. She actually bought the picture and put it in her house. It was such a moment for me, being a second year student. Third year, I again chose Rural Life. I was sort of inspired by all of these kind of ever-changing things around me in Dorset. I chose to shoot on a Hasselblad. I love this image. I love the colours. I love the background and the foreground. I love the focus of the pheasants and the kind of looming hunter in the background. Here we have the working dogs. My colour correction I don't think was quite as it could have been. I was still kind of learning how to shoot on film and with Hasselblad, but I really enjoy shooting on the Hasselblad because you focus so much more on the framing of the image. So I really want to carry that through into this final major project, shooting on Hasselblad and shooting on film. I think it gives you a step back to make you really think about the framing of the image, because you're so limited to amount of shots. I love how these images, though I'm focused on the left in particular, is so kind of painterly. It looks like an oil painting with the kind of out of focusness, but it shows the character of these rural life people, the people that live in this community. People that inspire me for these kind of projects. Tessa Bunny in particular, I love her work. I love her use of colour, the use of flash. I love how they're not portraits themselves, but they show the whole element of the rural farmer with the blood on the jacket, the pheasant, the blue twine in the pocket. And that was her series of Moor and Dale. This is Hand to Mouth. Again, it kind of shows the foragers. I love the lighting, the landscape that she uses it in. I love how it kind of shows the context of what the image actually is without really reading too much into it. You can instantly see that these are farmer people living very rurally, foraging for things that they need. For example, the wood in the previous slide, the apples here. And it kind of shows the context of rural life without much reading into it, so to speak. It's very self-explanatory, but I love the kind of simplicity of it, and the colours that are used are so complementary. And it looks like a snapshot, but obviously very well thought through. Andy Sewellswell was another huge influence to me. Again, I love his colours. I love how it's not of portraiture, but it's more of a snapshot of the rural countryside, and this is what I want to get into with my final major project for this term. I really want to aim to shoot, again, the rural life kind of aspect, but rather than just shooting the shoes, the farm, etc, etc, I'd love to delve in and learn more about these people. I want to talk to them and hear their stories and photograph who they actually are. It's all well and good shooting the pheasant sheep. I want to learn about what actually happens to the pheasant afterwards. I want to go out into the Dorset rural landscape and find these people, as Andy Seymour's done these pictures here, as Tessa Bonny did before me. The people that forage through the landscape, for example, the fishermen on the Jurassic coast, the people that forage for seaweed for food, for mushrooms in the sort of wilderness, so to speak. I'd love to learn more about these people rather than just a snapshot, a picture of someone's bag, the actual story behind it. So that's what I kind of aim for this project. I love to shoot on film, I'd love to shoot with colour again, and I'd love to do more research into the way these photographers work and their context behind it as well. And that's my aim and what I hope to produce within this project. Thank you for listening.